If I look at myself when I was leaving the command versus when I got to team 2, 2 different operators. Then you go do a workup at a SEAL team and you're like, okay, I didn't know anything back then.
Right.
It's just like when you're 30, you look back at when you're 20 years old, you're like, I know so much. Right. When you get to your 30, you look back at your 20-year-old self, you're like, I knew nothing. And it keeps happening. I kind of look at it as picture stairs, right? Side profile. I do this training, I level up. It kind of goes like this, then I level up again. I do another deployment, I level up again. And you just keep leveling up until you get to the tip of the spear. I mean, because you're learning, you get pumped full of knowledge. I mean, good stuff that you've been dreaming about.
So we just finished a workout. I survived my first Eddie Penny workout.
Wasn't too bad.
No,
it was a fun workout.
I might not be able to move my arms tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow will be a different story than right now.
We'll deal with that,
especially when we're working on grips.
So we got a little over anxious on the last one, and we covered basically a chapter and a half.
Right.
We were talking about buds, so we did one all in on.
Yeah,
buds.
it's kind of hard to like do a couple phases and then do the other one. So yeah, we knocked out buds. So we are moving to this would be chapter 5.
Echo.
Yep. Which
goes second phase, third phase, which we already talked about.
And
then goes into SQT. But before we get there,
we missed something.
Something kind of important happened while you're in buds.
In second phase.
Yeah.
9/11. So 9/11 happened in second phase. And I guess the importance of that is, again, changes your mindset. Like, okay, wow. And so, I mean, you're training for war regardless, no matter what it is. But now there's like a piece of fruit or a chocolate cake, if you want, at the end of the training cycle. It's real. It's real. Like, this is waiting for you. This situation is waiting for you and your boys going through this training to do it. So it wasn't like, hey, we're just going to train for the rest of our lives. They're like, all right, we're going to have some real world operations, which back then, before, 9/11, guys, if they went on a single op,
an entire career
was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then obviously with these wars kicking off, you're doing hundreds.
Did you feel like you were going to miss it? Like it was going to be over?
I didn't think I was going to miss it. I thought we were going to get pushed through training, but that was not true. Thank God. Probably got killed.
That was a rumor, right?
What's that?
That was a rumor.
That was like, well, it wasn't a rumor.
You just guys decided.
Maybe they'll push us through.
Right.
I probably started it. But yeah, so it was very real. It definitely switched the mindset. It's not like we weren't locked in before, but we were extra locked in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when you have that going on. You know what I mean?
So you finish buds. The Navy doesn't have its own jump school, so you go to the Army Airborne School at Fort Benning.
They do now, I believe. I'm pretty sure it changes all the time. So did 3 weeks in Benning.
Right.
Fort Benning in Georgia.
How was that?
Static line.
Totally different, different service.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Army. The conventional side.
Right.
I don't think anyone's a big fan of the conventional side of any service.
Right.
You treated almost like it's like a little, like a step down, maybe a step or two down from like boot camp.
Okay.
So you got watches and you got like stand duty and all this stuff. But yeah, it's...
But physically by this point, it's cake because...
Physically, yeah. Like what they
just come out of buds.
They're like their workouts. Like you barely even breathe hard.
Right.
We know where other people's are struggling or whatever. But yeah, it's... But I mean, you learn the static line. You learn how to crash to the ground pretty much. And then it's something you had to do. So you do... You got your workup the first couple of weeks, and then the last week you have to do 5 jumps. And I think one of them's a nighttime, I think.
Okay.
So you had to do that. So 5 jumps, and then you get your static line jump wings, which we wouldn't wear them because everything's in our Trident, which you get after SQT. So
now we're on to SQT, which wasn't always...
It was not. We were the second class to do it. So we did BUDS jump school, static line jump school, and then SQT, which is SEAL Qualified Training. And it's 3 months, and it's more operational. Like, they're still diving, they're still shooting, but it's like a mission. It's like mission after mission. Like, you're planning the mission, you're doing the mission, You're doing, the insert, the infill, time on target, your
all
exfill, your extract, learning how to put all the pieces together, learning about, adjacent units and what they can do for you and stuff like that. And then you do that. And then at the completion of that, because we lost a couple guys during that as well. After that, you get your bird. That's when you get pinned on your bird in a not as big of a ceremony as Bud's was, but another one that's done in a hangar, and they give you your bird, and you're a SEAL. But you still got to prove yourself when you get to the team.
And before SQT, you would do that training at the team, right?
So before you would go to Bud's. I don't think you got your trident. You would go to a team, and then they would put you through their thing. But each team was different. And then once you did certain training events, then you get your bird.
So SQT created uniformity. Now everybody's going through the same training.
Right. And which is good. I think a lot of people liked it. And I don't want to, you might have got your bird after Bud's, but you still you have to walk through the hallway of destruction.
Right. Which we'll
to get the bird at the end.
It seems like this is when you really start to get into your element.
Yeah. This is when
lots of shooting,
learning about boats, putting mines underneath ships and doing a lot more diving, not learning how to dive and how to navigate, but how to do a full mission profile. Hey, here's how we do it. Yeah, it's really, it's getting you ready for the real world.
Yeah. So did you feel...
And that was SQT.
Ready at that point? We'll get into the team, but you're walking away.
Of course you do. Of course you do. But then you go do a workup at a SEAL team and you're like, okay, I didn't know anything back then.
Right.
It's just like when you're 30, you look back at when you're 20 years old, you're like, I know so much. Right. When you get to your 30, you look back at your 20-year-old self, you're like,
nothing.
I knew nothing. And it keeps happening. Yeah. So it's the same thing. I kind of look at it as if you're looking picture stairs, right? Side profile. I do this training, I level up. It kind of goes like this, then I level up again. I do another deployment, I level up again. You just keep leveling up until you get to the tip of the spear, which is, our at the command, the tier 1 unit. But yeah, but I thought, I was like, man, because you're learning, you get pumped full of knowledge. Good stuff that you've been dreaming about. But if I look at myself when I was leaving the command versus when I got to team 2 different operators. A little virgin boy and a freaking calloused savage, to be honest with you.
So you requested all East Coast teams.
I did.
Talk to me a minute about the difference between the cultures on the East and West Coast.
So, and this is what you hear. This is what I've heard is your West Coast is kind of like your Hollywood teams. They're more chill. And don't get me wrong, they're all trained. Everyone's trained to do their thing, but it's more of a different dynamic than East Coast. So East Coast has our tier 1 unit, and what's so good about that is if they need a break or maybe they get in trouble or something, they go to the regular teams. Well, due to money issues, they're going to go to the East Coast. So there was a huge tier 1 influence on those East Coast teams. So when I found out about that, I was like, oh, I'm going there. I'd rather chill in San Diego.
Right.
But I'm like, dude, I'm not about going surfing and whatever you hear. I wasn't on a West Coast team, so I really don't know. I can only speak from my personal experience. I wanted to go to the East Coast for sure for that one reason. And when I did get to my first platoon, I had 2 guys that just came from there, and it changed the world from our little unit to other ones. It was night and day. Night and day. Those guys, I attribute so much stuff learning because we had that influence.
Right.
So there you go. Fathered again.
Right? Again.
This time at killing people.
And in SQT, you get back into lifting weights, putting size back on.
So yeah, SQT, I was able to lift could lift because you had some time. So we would do our normal day and I would go straight to the gym, trying to put my size back on. Just because I don't know. Maybe an ego thing. I'm not going to, ego pride. I'm not going to lie about it. I don't want to sugarcoat it. It was. But it also it was seriously, it became my therapy. We were just talking about it in the gym today. I was like, dude, this just makes me happy.
Yeah.
I'm a happy place.
You're irritated if you don't get together.
I am. Yeah. I am. And it's just healthy. I love it.
Speaking of therapy, at this point, how's the family life?
This point, I really don't even know about my family. They're still there. They're still being supportive. And I'm really focused on making the teams. That's all I really care about.
You kind of have to be.
You do. But on the weekends, I was always home. I never went out. And if I did, the wife came, got a babysitter for Kayla.
Right.
So it wasn't like I was out partying or anything like that. Or I didn't have enough energy to do that stuff.
Right.
I was just like, dude, I'll chill at home. So, it wasn't, there's always arguments but there was nothing crazy bad. So at this point,
still manageable,
still somewhat peaceful.
Good. Anything else you want to talk about in this chapter?
No, we kind of hit some of it last podcast. So I think that kind of, filled it in. No, I think that's pretty much it.
Great. Next time will be you arriving at Team 2 and finally achieving that lifelong dream.
Exactly. Get into the teams.
Until you had to achieve the next dream.
Which is, there's always another one.
That's right.
Because we don't stop.
That's right.
That's right.
All right.
All right, fellas. See ya.